Alright, it's been a few days since the release of Furiosa Mad Max Saga, a movie that you all know if you watch my channel, I loved. A movie that might be bombing at the box office, which sucks. I also made a whole video about that, so go check that out. But today I want to go through each and every Mad Max film, just give my quick thoughts on each one, and rank them out on a tier list, because I am an original YouTuber that does stuff that no other YouTuber does, like tier lists. Now, this is a franchise that I do enjoy. It's a franchise birthed from the mind of George Miller, one of the best directors and filmmakers we have in Hollywood, and this franchise is his baby. This is his gift to the world. When George Miller goes and passes away one day, we will say he was the Mad Max guy. He's also in Death Stranding 2. So that's what I'll remember him for. Love you, Kojima. But as of right now, there are 5 Mad Max movies, and the one thing that's really cool about this franchise is each and every single one of these movies tends to be pretty freaking different from the rest. There is not a continued story from 1 through 5. This is not a franchise like Star Wars or Jurassic Park even. This is a very weird and different franchise, unique to anything else really in Hollywood. Each one of these films can stand alone as its own thing, and none of them are really that connected other than through the character of Mad Max. But, at the same time, there's a franchise that pushes the boundaries of filmmaking. It's about a post-apocalyptic nonsense and craziness and Australians being badasses and driving cars. You know the gist of Mad Max. So let's get right into it. So the first Mad Max movie came out in the year of 1980, directed by George Miller, and starring Mel Gibson, a badass 80s action star himself. This is the first movie in the franchise, and also my least favorite one, if I'm gonna be honest. This is a weird movie. A very, very strange movie, especially compared to the rest. This is a movie that does not follow your typical structure of storytelling, especially when it comes to big action, apocalyptic type things. So this film takes place in a version of Australia that's on the brink of kind of like this dystopian post-apocalyptic world that we see in some of the future movies. Oil and resources are draining, and the world just kind of sucks. It's kind of ran by violence and gangs and all this crazy shit. Max is a police officer who kind of gets involved in this gang warfare thing that's going on, and the plot of this movie is not too complicated. There's gangs fighting, there's Mel Gibson getting in the middle of it, you get some cool action, some cool set pieces, but the story here is just nothing really memorable. The set pieces and the actual imagery of the world and the car chases haven't aged as well as some of the other movies that I'm going to be talking about here. There are some really good character moments in this movie, you know, versus some of the other films in this franchise that I like a lot more. And overall, there are moments in this film that make it strong. It makes it as strong as some of the other movies of this time, the action films of this time. But in this franchise, it's a movie that I rewatched the least. I'm just not the biggest fan of it, and it's not very memorable, if I'm going to be completely honest with you. I'm going to put the first Mad Max movie in C tier. I'm just not the biggest fan of it. And then you have Mad Max 2: The Road Warrior, the film that actually kind of takes us into the world of Mad Max that we know and love, the world from Fury Road, which I think is most people's entry drug into this universe, since it's like the newest, most popular film. But that big desert world in which gangs and violence is just the normality of this world, and everybody drives these badass cars, and things are crazy, and it's just so unique and interesting and fun to watch. This movie also has a simple plot where we follow Mel Gibson's Mad Max yet again as he comes into contact with this group and has to defend them from the evil, this dude called the Humongous, and it's just a big gang warfare movie. It is as simple of a plot as any of the other movies in this franchise, but it works well. What does this movie do better than the first one? Well, I do think Mad Max as a character and Mel Gibson's performance here is a lot better. He is the badass leather jacket wearing motherfucker that we've come to love and expect from these movies. I think the production design of like the costumes, the way the characters move, they act, the stuff they wear, the things they do, the overall production of this world is just so much more unique, and it drags you into it and gives you the experience that I think George Miller intended to give to you with the first movie. This one is more of a solidified vision of what this post-apocalyptic Australia looks like. I think the ideas with the cars and the vehicle stuff are a lot more creative. I just think a lot of the action set pieces in this movie are more creative. I enjoy the story more in this movie. I enjoy the characters more. This is just a movie that ends up aging a lot better than its counterpart, the first movie, and it is a solid film that I recommend. Not enough people have seen this one. So we're gonna put Mad Max 2 in A tier. And then you have Mad Max 3: Beyond the Thunderdome, the finale of the Mel Gibson trilogy, and what we thought for many, many years would be the final Mad Max film. Now, this is a film that continues where the second movie left off in this weird desert apocalyptic Australia where Mad Max falls into a gladiator type arena. He has to help out some orphans in this movie. There's a bunch of other subplots and stuff that I've kind of forgotten. This is not my favorite movie either. I will say there's a lot about this movie that I really like. Yet again, it carries on the production value of the previous movie. That weird kind of punk rocky apocalyptic look of this Australia, this desert world. It looks and feels a lot more immersive than the first movie, so in that realm, I think it's better. This is also a movie that I just find to be not memorable. I don't remember much in this movie, and on my rewatch for this video, I just kind of skimmed through it, because I was getting bored with many of the aspects of this movie. It felt like kind of what George Miller was going for, which he actually only co-directed this one. I think a lot of his ideas with this franchise and what he wanted to do, he accomplished with The Roadrunner, with the previous movie here, Road Warrior. And I think this film was just kind of a continuation of it, but it just does not feel as fulfilling. So because of that, we're actually going to put Thunderdome in, I'll put it a C tier in front of Mad Max 1. Now we're getting into some good shit. Mad Max Fury Road. By God, is this not the greatest action movie ever? I mean, it kind of is. Mad Max Fury Road came out of nowhere in 2015. I can't say that anybody really had extreme expectations for this film because we had not had a Mad Max movie in 30 years, and George Miller had not made a massive action movie like this pretty much since that time. We now got a brand new Mad Max movie that doesn't really connect itself to the previous movies besides the fact that it takes place in this weird post-apocalyptic Australia starring a guy named Max. Now played by Tom Hardy because Mel Gibson has gotten too old and too drunk to play this character. And this film is just kind of marvelous in a way that's hard to describe. Mad Max Fury Road is essentially one gigantic action sequence condensed into 2 hours, and it's perfect. It is perfect. The movie's about Max, who stumbles upon this weird group called the Citadel that's ran by this evil Bane-like motherfucker named Immortan Joe. And in this group, he ends up getting captured, and this girl, Furiosa, who's another badass character, escapes with a lot of the wives of the main bad guy, and she's off to the run to find the green place and bring them to paradise, and Immortan Joe's not happy about that, so he chases after them, and Max gets involved kind of like in the middle of the whole thing, and you get this badass chase sequence. This whole movie is Immortan Joe chasing Furiosa and Max, and that's it. And in it, you get a great movie with amazing characters. I mean, Max, you don't learn much about Max and some of the stuff that's happened before this movie, other than the movies that we've gotten. We don't exactly know what had just happened to him before this film had started, but we could still connect to him. We understand him. We understand he's a rigid man who has been through some shit. Furiosa, who at this point watching this movie, we had not known what had happened to her, but we could tell she is also a rigid warrior of this world. She's been damaged by this world, but she cares deeply about these wives. She cares deeply about returning home. We get characters like Nicholas Hoult, this guy that has given his whole life to Immortan Joe and wants to take his place in Valhalla. But he has this slight turn throughout the movie that is so beautiful to watch, and he's got, oh god, he's got some of the best lines in this movie. Immortan Joe is a terrifying villain, both in his looks and his aesthetic. I mean, all the bad guys in this movie, in general, the production design with the costumes, the way these characters look and feel is just so mesmerizing and so well done and could have only came from the mind of George Miller. And then you get to the action. It's perfect. It's practical. I understand there is some CGI in this movie, but god damn it, I never noticed it. This whole movie felt like it was filmed in real time, and it is just insane to watch. The vehicles, the crashes, the creativity with how these characters are fighting each other is just so mind-blowing that it makes this movie the most original and unique thing you could have ever seen in 2015. It is absurd. And this movie has its emotional beats. By the time you get to the ending, it pulls those emotional punches, man. It hits you right in the face with them. It is beautiful, man. This is a perfect movie. It is a masterpiece by unfathomable proportions. It is a absolute marvel, and a movie that I feel like 100 years from now, people are still going to be talking about. So of course, we're putting Mad Max Fury Road in D tier. No, I'm kidding. We'll go S tier. Now we have the brand new movie Furiosa Mad Max Saga, which is the prequel to Mad Max Fury Road. Of course, George Miller had planned out this new Mad Max trilogy to be Fury Road, and then a prequel about Furiosa to show how she got the Fury Road, and then a prequel about Mad Max to show how he got the Fury Road. It's kind of like a backwards trilogy. We'll see if he gets to finish it, because you fuckers won't pay to go see the movie. But Furiosa is the brand new movie. It literally came out last week, and it follows Anya Taylor-Joy, who plays a younger version of the character, and we essentially watch her 20-plus year journey to becoming the character that she was in Fury Road. How did she get there? What happened? And just, it's an odyssey. It is a saga film. This movie is very, very different from Fury Road, which is amazing, and it continues that trend of this franchise that each movie feels a little bit different. It takes place in very much the same world as Fury Road, this post-apocalyptic Australia, with a abundance of interesting and colorful characters with creative costumes and creative just overall ambience of what they are. But it's a movie that is not just one big chase sequence. It is the life. You are watching the life of this character up until the first time we see her in Fury Road. And through this, we follow this villainous character played by Chris Hemsworth, who plays this guy Dementus, who is this gang leader. He is this warlord, and he steals the goddamn show in this movie. Chris Hemsworth is the best performance of his career. He is hilarious, but also kind of terrifying because you never really know what he's gonna do. You also bring back a Immortan Joe from Fury Road, who is also just as good in this film. But at the center of this whole conflict in this movie is Furiosa, who's out for revenge. It's a classic revenge story. That essence of revenge of, like, you can't really get back what you've lost, but you still feel that drive to take away what that person took from you. And through this, we watch this whole journey of Furiosa becoming the strong warrior, becoming what she was in Fury Road, to being that leader in the Citadel, you know, getting the truck, you know, the whole truck and the gang of guys she has there is just awesome. Of course, you have the gigantic Fury Road like action sequences in this film. You mainly get one in the middle of this film, this whole truck sequence that is stunning. You get a beautiful sequence, this whole fight that takes place, I believe, in Bullet Town it's called, which is so well done. I think the finale, although a little anticlimactic because you don't get a big action set piece, really, I still think is good and emotional. This movie, I think, tells character stories a little bit better maybe than Fury Road. I think Fury Road does a great job of being subtle enough that even though it doesn't tell you everything about these characters, you still get it, and I think that mystery kind of adds something to that film, and maybe this film takes away that mystery a little bit, but this film at the same time seeks to tell this long-standing character story of Furiosa, of Chris Hemsworth's character, of the Citadel, and kind of give you all the backstory you need on everything that's going on with these guys to make Fury Road a more coherent experience, which some of you may like, some of you may hate. I personally love. This movie's revenge story works. Anya Taylor-Joy's performance here as this character is great. It gives you something different than Charlize Theron, but it never makes you believe that this is a different character. You can definitely see that this is the same character that we follow in Fury Road as well. Now, I hear a lot of people complaining that there is an overuse of CGI in this film, and I agree this film would be a lot better if it was completely practical and had that gritty, dirty look of Fury Road, but at the same time, I feel like the overuse of CGI and the clean, sort of more precise look of this film was a little more deliberate. I don't think this was a cutting corners technique. I think this was George Miller wanting a significant sort of difference between the two films to make this its own thing, and I think he used CGI and some of the visuals and some of the colors to really make that point, and I understand people are mad about that. I don't care. I see so many movies with CGI. This movie has some of the best CGI I've ever seen, and some of the most exciting action sequences I've seen. So who gives a shit? As long as it's used to make good shit, who cares? Is this one as good as Fury Road? No, I don't think so. But is it one of the best prequels we've ever gotten? Like, ever? Like, ever? I think so. I think this is a masterpiece of a prequel, and I think it is absurdly good, and you should all give your money to go see it, because nobody is right now, and because of that, we're never gonna get another one of these things, and it's all on you. It's your fault, you watching this video. Because of that, we're gonna put Furiosa in S tier, right behind Fury Road. So that's it. Let me know where I was right, let me know where I was wrong. Give me your rankings of all these films down below. Make sure to like this video, subscribe for more, turn on notifications. See you guys in tomorrow's video.